It looks like One Piece fans are tapping into their inner space odyssey. Oh my goodness, because our eyes are set not on what's going on this planet, this world of One Piece. No. They're set upwards towards the heavens, particularly towards the planets, baby. We are tapping into our inner Sailor Moon. For a particular individual with the name of Jay, right? Into his inner Sailor Saturn. There is a lot to discuss with the chapter, but particularly for the chapter itself. Even though I want to really dive into the Saturn greatness right now, we just can't do it.
I just can't do it.
This video would be 50 minutes long. So I'm gonna have to save all my thoughts, all of the things I had thought about for a long time with the moons and so on and so forth. I'm gonna just do, I think, 2 videos on just diving into, maybe 3 videos actually, just diving really deep into it all and explaining to you why I think the way I think. However, if you wanna see my full live stream reaction to this chapter, you can go on my Cole Requiem channel, link in the box below, and the post-chapter discussion on my Twitch, also link in the box below. Also, if you want to see my anime episode reactions to One Piece, to Chainsaw Man, Bleach, and so on and so forth, all of them will be in my Kingu-san channel. That link is also in the box below. And recently we uploaded the Sanji versus King and Queen episode, edited, fun, all that good stuff. However, of course, we are up to date on the Patreon. Link also, guess what? In the description box down below. So, as per usual, we're going to break down this chapter into its 3 major components. Number 1, the pacing and the chapter structure. Number 2 are the character components of the chapter, which are actually the largest components of this chapter. And then number 3, the story progression components for this chapter. So let's get right into it. First of all, the chapter pacing and structure. This chapter has a total of 5 parts to it. Number 1 is the lab phase area, mainly focused on outside the lab, with slight shifts back into the interior of the lab. Number 2 is Whitebeard's hometown on Sphinx Island. Number 3 is a flashback before Marco's arrival back onto Sphinx Island. Number 4 is back in real time on Sphinx Island again. Then number 5 is somewhere in the New World en route to Agate Island with the Marine/World Government fleet. So, when it comes to pacing, I think overall it was good. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary, and overall, the structured chapter was simple. The flashback was relatively fine, and the shifts from the labo phase exterior to the interior do make perfect sense. And during the stream, I didn't see most folks, or even myself, were confused about the overall pace and structure and the overall flow of the chapter. So, simple, straightforward, good, and it gets 2 thumbs up from your boy. Here comes the meaty material, the character components for this chapter. Number 1, Rob Lucci. Lucci has that attack first, ask questions later mentality. He attempted to kill Stussy, despite his clear confusion on what exactly was going on. He is that instinctive killer, like instinctually, his first result was Shigon, kill, which does make a lot of sense when you recall Rob Lucci's flashback when he was a child. This is the same person that when he was a child, a kid, he killed the captured soldiers of that kingdom because they failed at their duties. So Rob Lucci is an instinctive killer. But then also other villains have showcases as well. Like for example, Enel, particularly in the cover story, let's say chapter 434, where he attacks the robots on the ground first, and then attacks the note to shoot first, ask questions later. Number 2 is Stussy. Now, Stussy has, of course, clearly the lion's share of this character section of the video. So she showcases a new 6 powers skill called Paper Art After Image to avoid Rob Lucci's finger pistol. So this skill is noted to in the translation as paper art or kamiya in Japanese. But considering that she did do it so quickly and could dodge the Rob Gooch, then shave or soru might be mixed in there as well. So it could be a combo of both paper art and shave. The second thing for this technique, this has some degree of a similarity that Nami showcases for her Mirage Tempo, first shown in her fight against Miss Doublefinger in chapter 191. Number 2 for Stussy is just like Smoker's Jite or Wiper's Skates on Skypiea. Stussy uses a sea stone weapon. It's a hidden piece of sea stone in a tube of lipstick, of course with the main purpose of weakening Delphi users. So there were some folks that were saying in the comment section that the lipstick paste itself on her lips, that was sea stone. But based on everything that we know so far about sea stone, that seems highly unlikely, particularly when all she has to do is just bite onto him and then her lips will prevent him from moving. But instead, she has to stab him with the tube of lipstick. That has to be the thing that stops him from using his own abilities. After this, number 3 for Stussy is her finishing power. Tremendous. Still tremendous. Once she bites onto Rob Gucci on the neck, he passes out in a matter of a few seconds. So in this case here, Stussy has probably some of the best finishing power in the series right now. And because Kaku was taken down when he was in giraffe form, the size of the opponent may not matter. So maybe if she were to sink her teeth into a giant, then the giant would also collapse in the same fashion as Rob Lucci. Of course, that's just a theory, because obviously has way more blood in the giant compared to a human being. And other ways to counter her ability would, of course, let's say, be using hockey, or if someone has a naturally tough hide, like Diamond Joe's or Big Mom. But if Stussy has, let's say, for example, hardening on her teeth, like what Who's Who could do against Jinbei, then that makes her, honestly, all the more dangerous. So that is number 3 for Stussy. Number 4 for Stussy is that, of course, she is cunning, very sharp. Like a true spy, assassin, a pirate in so many ways you could argue. She has no qualms at all playing dirty. She is like the Draymond Green of the Golden State Warriors of CP0. She will do whatever it takes to get her W's at this point in time. And Kaku and Rob Gucci are clear examples of that. However, number 5 for Stussy. She admits that she is not on the level of Kaku or Lucci. So she says in a fair one-on-one fight, she wouldn't fight them, which is why she did what she did. And then Shaka doubles down that idea as an answer to the surprise and shock that the Strats had finding out that Rob Gucci was beaten by Stussy. And then finally, number 6 for Stussy, a very fitting number for someone that has vampiric, demonic-like abilities. A very, very tainted number. She seems to enjoy, at least potentially, she seems to enjoy the whole process of betraying Kaku and Stussy. Since the entire time, she's smiling and even has a heart when she calls Rob Lucci a wild cat. Like she enjoyed the entire thing. And it might be that she's overall happy to get orders from Vegapunk to assist him finally. However, it could be her natural character disposition, where she genuinely enjoys these sorts of moments. Like in a very similar way to 871 when she killed the Feld. She killed him, smile, heart and text bubbles, all that stuff. So even though right now she's on Vegapunk's side, her alignment could be lawful evil or neutral evil. Stussy is a bad woman. That's for damn sure. So that is Stussy. That is her whole character thing right there. A lot for Stussy, but again, she's the lion's share of this section of character. But we're not done yet. After Stussy character is going to be S-Hawk / Mihawk, question mark. This one's a bit, I'm not too sure. So, when Zoro and S-Hawk clash, he, meaning Zoro, noted to S-Hawk looking, quote, more human than him. And I'm assuming, that him means Mihawk. So Zoro might be referring to Mihawk in some way, but again, that's kind of unclear. And I think he's talking more metaphorically, in a figure of speech manner about Mihawk, where Mihawk is numb, emotionless in some sense, where you can argue he does not project emotions or have emotions like a normal human being would. He is the Kawhi Leonard of the strongest characters in the world of One Piece. You could argue that, right? While in this chapter, S-Hawk was startled and surprised at seeing Zoro and started to sweat during that clash. And you might even want to argue the reason why he was sweating could be instinctively fear, but not too sure, not too clear. So this whole thing gets a big question mark because, again, we have to assume that when Zoro's talking about him, he's referring to Mihawk. That's the most likely assumption, but it could maybe be somebody else, like King the Wildfire? Probably not, though. And if you want to go all the way back to chapter 51 of One Piece, when Mihawk dashes towards Zoro and Zoro's doing the 3,000 Worlds attack, Mihawk does sweat for a moment before he cuts down Zoro. At the time, it's very likely that Zoro didn't notice that sweat, where in this situation, he does see it clearly probably on S-Hawk. But the sweat may not be indicative of, let's say, him being more human than Mihawk. So, this one's weird. But I'm going to throw it out there because Zoro's words clearly have some deeper meaning. But what is pretty clear is that S-Hawk's duplicate sword of Yoru is pretty damn durable, where it didn't crack or break or anything of that sort during that clash against Zoro, and Zoro is putting haki on his blade. But S-Hawk doesn't have that. In fact, right now, you could argue that the Seraphim can't use haki, just given how they're designed, created, but only time will tell on that one. So that's it for S-Hawk / maybe question mark Mihawk. And then after that is going to be Zoro. So, like I said before, Zoro did clash with S-Hawk evenly with 2 swords. And S-Hawk did intend to take down Lilith. Might be a sign of Zoro's base strength improving after Wano Country. S-Hawk does have the physical strength to cut down the main mountain of Amazon Lily that we see in 1059. So we know he's strong for damn sure. After Zoro is going to be Sanji. So Sanji easily saved Edison from a laser beam that was in close proximity to Edison. Might be a sign of his base speed improving after Wano Country. After Sanji is going to be Lilith. Lilith shows genuine happiness and joy that Edison is alive. So despite her title being evil, you can argue she's more of the neutral alignment since she did clearly care about Edison's safety. After Lilith is going to be Weevil. Weevil showcases his raw power in one good old baseball swing of his Naginata, where we have a 6-for-1, okay? Getting a 2-piece with a single bullet in Call of Duty is impressive. 3 is unheard of. 4 is impossible. 5+ is mad lad status. 6. This man got a 6-for-1 meal and sent them flying, all flying into the mountain miles away. So we know that this guy is physically strong, since in chapter 802, when we see a giant galleon ship, I think of the AO pirates, inland, like it was moved or thrown there by Weevil, therefore indicating the strength of his biceps. This chapter adds more credibility to his raw strength that is parallel to Whitebeard in his youth. Number 2 is that Weevil protected the people of Sphinx, when normally it is said in 802 that he creates a tremendous amount of damage in civilian populations whenever he acts. So of course, the main thing here would be his father, his quote-unquote father. This is his hometown and probably feels more sentimental, duty-bound even, to protect it. Two C's, protect it. So those right there are the character components for Weevil. After Weevil is going to be Green Bull Aramaki. So Green Bull captures Weevil, which indicates his power as an admiral. There's a chance here that because it was Sphinx Island, Weevil held back or potentially did not even fight because, again, he didn't want to damage Sphinx Island, the home island of his, quote, father, Whitebeard. But those details right now are unknown. Therefore, we just simply give Green Bull that credit. After Green Bull is going to be Miss Bucking. So, confirmed now, Miss Buckingham Stussy, former member of the Rocks Pirates. She is the, quote, self-styled scientist, end quote. Wow. And a Mads freeloader. Basically fraudulent. House Slytherin activity from Miss Buckingham. Research and chill. Just slide in research for Netflix and you kind of, go from there. You can allegedly, right? After that, number 2 for her is going to be, even though she's all about treasure and riches, based on this chapter and 802, she does seem to care about Weevil when he's on the ship crying, "Mama," she's going, "Weevil, no," and she's crying and so on and so forth. That could also be fraudulent. And she simply cares about Weevil because Weevil is her meal ticket. Even in a stack, that could easily be possible here. Easily, without a doubt. And then finally, for the character section of this video, we're going to end this off with, simply put, a major, massive, megaton reveal of one of the names of the Gorosei, the 5 elder stars of the world of One Piece. Saint J. Garcia Saturn. Now, in the Viz translation, J. Garcia is actually one name, where in the scans that has 2 names, J. Garcia Saturn. So I guess JD is technically not elder status, but whatever. Shout out to my boy JD. I'll give him that credit for the time being. But that being said, we cannot get into the full theory scope of just J. Garcia Saturn, what that means for the story, among other things, like the other Gorosei, of course, the existence of Pluton, of Poseidon, other name Neptune, of Uranus. We just Nika, Sun God. We just can't get to it now. It's gonna be too long. So I have to leave it at that for the time being, and we gotta keep things pushing. Now we have the story progression components for this chapter, and these are pretty simple, pretty straightforward, but still you could argue, obviously, major on so many fronts. So number 1 here, Stussy does take down Rob Gucci. Pretty simple. And she has bound Lucci and Kaku with Kairo Seki. So likely they're still going to be in the labo phase, but they can't do anything because, again, they're going to be bound with Sea Stone. Second thing is that Stussy is the one that Vegapunk was talking to in chapter 1071. So this confirms that when Stussy is now revealed to be a traitor, they, the government, are going to actively hunt her down like a dog, particularly knowing that she, Stussy, is the first CP0 traitor that we are actively aware of in the story. There could be other people that might have been former members of CP0 that also betrayed the Gorosei and the Holy Land, but Stussy is the single individual that we know of right now that has done so. And that is, as far as we can tell, unprecedented in the world of One Piece. That's a major treacherous blow. So she'll be hunted down, have a high as all hell bounty, especially when she's a clone of a former Rocks pirate member. Number 3 for story, the Seraphim have stopped attacking the base after hearing the orders from Edison. So the authority chip is still there, still strong, obviously. But what we also find out in this chapter is that if someone has the same authority status for the Seraphim as someone else who gave an order, then this person cannot override that previous order. So Rob Lucci gave the order to the Seraphim to destroy the lab. Stussy, with the same level of authority, cannot override that order. So that authority dynamic might be important to keep in mind, because as far as we know, the Gorosei have the highest authority. As far as we know. Again, there are certain individuals you can argue, like Dragon, may also have authority that could be equal to that of the Gorosei. But again, that's a theory, so for the time being, just keep in mind that folks that have the same authority level cannot override each other's orders. Someone of a higher authority can only do that. Number 4 is going to be Stussy might pull up on the Strat ship along with the Vegapunks. Number 5 is that Weevil did defend Sphinx Island from the Marines while Marco was away, unbeknownst to him. So Marco does show his sincere gratitude for Weevil for defending Sphinx Island. And he did save those kids, true enough, but also remember that he's the same guy that went about destroying 16 allied pirate crews of the Whitebeard pirates. Again, he saved the kids. He saved the kids, but damn. So he gets credit for today, but in the grand scheme of things, Marco and Weevil should still have issues. And right now, for part 6 of the story, Weevil's captured by Green Bull. And Miss Bucking wants Marco to go and get Weevil. Will this turn into a Green Bull versus Marco situation? Unlikely, I think, because after we find out number 7, the reveal of her whole status and title, Rock's pirate member, self-styled scientist, and so on and so forth, Miss Bucking knows how to convince Marco that Weevil is, quote, Whitebeard's son, end quote, and that is Dr. Vegapunk. So this absolutely, not confirmed still, but this damn near confirms that Weevil is a clone, a failed clone of Whitebeard. Maybe this could be possible here. Maybe Stussy did have the hots for Whitebeard, but Whitebeard leads that straight edge, pure lifestyle. In order to get what she wanted, she used her ties to Mads to make a clone of Whitebeard that failed and ultimately became Whitebeard's son, Weevil. Now, that is... If you've ever read Gantz, woo! That is some awkward, that is some pretty weird SHI. Fill in the last letter yourself. But that being said, her comments might lead to Marco in some way arriving on Egget Island. Though I think that's unlikely too, because we just got him in Wano country for an extended amount of time. So Marco's spot in the story right now is somewhat awkward. And the last section for story progression, of course, is finding out that one of the Gorosei actually has left the Holy Land Man Cave, has a great security system around him where they test the food for poison on a regular basis, and Kizaru's there to kind of like watch over him. And this individual is now finally named Saint J. Garcia Saturn, one of the 5 elder stars, highest authority in the world of One Piece. Crazy. My goodness. So that is it for the story progression components for this chapter. Overall chapter rating. Final thoughts. This chapter was great. This chapter was like really good. Oda, again, it feels like because we're in the final saga, he's ready now to just unveil all these secrets and just finding out Jay Garcia's name, Saturn, right? Just in of itself. That was just major. And then, of course, the Stussy and the bucking and the Weevil. Greenbull capturing Weevil. Zoro's comments on potentially Mihawk. These things are like Oda's ready. And this arc is, man, Egghead Island is a joy. It's a treat. It's a really, really good arc. I'll argue at this point in time. Of course, I just want to dive right into like the planets and space and then all that. I'm gonna have theory videos. They're gonna just sound crazy, dumb, but I'm gonna explain them in full detail. They're gonna be either 2 or 3. Yeah, I just wanna go in. I just wanna go hard. I just wanna go so hard. Okay, so this chapter, I like it a lot. Ladies and gentlemen, the pace of this chapter was good. The character components were good. And the story progression was real good. 9. Haha, you heard me right. 9 out of 10 for this week's chapter of One Piece.